program manager and working on the topic of living wage, and then also really onboarding companies to make use of our salary matrix and a broader living wage assessment for their supply chain. I have seen the some introduction slides, etc., that Lotte made for your company. So I think you had already a first deep dive on the topic of living wage. I'm sure you have still a lot of other questions, etc. But so that's why we are here today, and we can answer your questions, etc. So I think today we will have a broader recap of benchmarks, living wage concept, and then going really further into details of our salary matrix tool to really calculate possible living wage gaps in your supply chain, and also a little bit more explanation on our e-learning website, which will be really useful for you. So this is a short intro from my side. I will hand over to my colleague Margot, who will actually do and give you all the presentation and the introduction to our salary matrix tool.
Thanks, Martin, and hi everybody. Nice to meet you. It's great to have you on board today, and thanks Lotte for organizing this session. And thanks, Martin, for the introduction. My name is Margot Duchatel. I'm a senior program officer for the Living Wages team at IDH. And in my role, I lead the step 1 of the roadmap on living wages, which is everything related to the benchmarks. And also support the development and the maintenance of our online platform, that is the Salary Matrix, and also lead the guidance of the e-learning website. So everything that is the guidance on how to use properly the tool, then yeah, I'm leading that work as well. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen, and I will just walk you through the slides first, and then we'll have a little demo session. I think maybe if I put it on my smaller screen, it would be easier for you. You usually have this problem. All right, so I think now you can see my slides, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so the agenda for today is to give you a bit of background of the salary matrix, to introduce you to a step-by-step demo on how the salary matrix work. And then I will also show you the e-learning website, which has more detailed guidance on what kind of data to enter where in the salary matrix tool, but also yeah, other questions that you might have as well. What can I include or not in the salary matrix? And then we'll have, yeah, the demo session of the tool per se, and I will leave some room for questions as well. I know Martin already shared with me a few questions that you had, so I hope that I can already answer some of them during the presentation. Otherwise, we'll have time at the end. And what we'll do is that I will walk you through the slides now, leave some time for questions, and then deep dive into the salary matrix. And here I will pause from time to time to take some questions step by step. So then it will be, I think, easier for everybody to follow. So I will quickly walk you through the roadmap on living wages. So IDH, with a few key stakeholders, we developed the roadmap on living wages, which is 5 steps to help companies to measure and close living wage gaps. So as I said, I'm leading the step 1, which is identifying the living wage. So it's everything related to the benchmarks, and I will talk a bit more in details about this in a few minutes. Step 2 is about measuring the living wage gap for your facility or your supply chain overall. And we do that through the Salary Matrix tool. So you will have the demo session now. Third step is verifying the living wage gaps. So that is done with independent auditors to double check that data that you inserted in the salary matrix is actually correct. And then the fourth step is, now if I have a living wage gap, what can I do to close it? And the fifth step is, once you have successfully led a project and close your living wage gaps, how can you share learnings for you to learn in the future, but also for other companies to learn from it. So those are the 5 steps of the roadmap, and today we're going to focus on the first step, which is the benchmarks. So what is the living wage estimate on a certain on a specific location for your facility, and the second step on using the salary matrix tool to measure living wage gaps. So the first step is identifying the living wage gap, benchmark. So first of all, how is the living wage benchmark calculated? So we take into account the basic cost for a family, and this includes food, housing, education, healthcare, safe transportation, and essential needs, including a little bit of provision and room for unexpected events such as funerals in the family, or the washing machine broke and I need to replace it. This is based on the Anchor Benchmark Institute, Anchor Research Institute, that really developed the whole living wage concept and brought it to life. Now there are several other methodologies in the living wage world, but the anchors were really the first ones to set up all these criteria to calculate the basic cost for a family in a certain region. So basically, how much a family should earn to have a decent lifestyle in that region. And once we have calculated the basic cost for the family, then we divide by the number of wage earners in the family. We add taxes and deductions, and that gives us the living wage benchmark. So as I said, the Anchor Research Institute is the one who really developed the whole system of developing living wage benchmarks. But now you have several other methodologies. I think a clear something that I need to be clear of is that IDH does not develop benchmarks. We're not a benchmark organization. We're not a methodology. We're just partnering up with a few of them, the main ones, to help you understand, how much your workers should earn in a specific region. So having said that, we have a recognition process at IDH, and we have a few criteria. I won't go too much in details, but basically the methodologies, they develop benchmarks and they can apply to IDH to be recognized officially by IDH and to be used in the salary matrix tool. So far, we have recognized 5 methodologies. We have the Fair Wage Network, and it's the typical family methodology. The Wage Indicator typical family methodology. We also have New Foresight, the monthly living wage methodology. Living Wage for Us, which is about the United States of America. So it's also the typical family living wage methodology. And then we have the anchors. So we have 2 recognized methodologies from the anchors, the full-fledged and the anchor reference. I won't go into too much detail, but as I said, the salary matrix work was mainly based on the anchor methodology because they were the first ones to develop a full methodology and process. And because we understood the need for companies to have a clear understanding on what are the different methodologies and benchmarks that they can use in their specific region, we developed the benchmark Finder tool that shows like this. And basically what you can do is you can look for your country, and then you have a list of all the regions and the different methodologies that are available for your region. So for example, if I take here this example of Costa Rica, for many regions, only wage indicator is available. And this is the benchmark that is for purchase, for example. So only the anchors methodology here in blue, it is fully available, which means that you can already check, when you enter anchor methodology in the salary matrix tool, which you will see later today, you already have the value. Otherwise, for the other methodologies, you have to purchase the benchmark to have the actual value. So again, the benchmark is the value, is the amount of money that a worker should receive to have a decent living life of lifestyle for him or her and their family. Do you have any question before I jump to the salary matrix? Lotte.
You are muted, Lotte. Lotte, we cannot hear you.
Sorry, yeah, now you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Maarten was raising his hand as well. I think 2 comments from my side. We have conducted a research on the different methodologies, well, 2 different methodologies, the anchor benchmark and also the typical family methodology, to understand what the difference is between the 2. So after this session, I'm going to send that to you as well. So if you have 2 options to choose in terms of benchmarks, you can make a well-founded decision on which one you think is most suitable for you. And I think the second point that I would like to make, but I think Maarten, this is a point that you can also elaborate on. I think there's a discount on the benchmarks.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, and I just raised my hand for your first point as well, Lotte, so thanks for this. And then for the discount, I think, Marco, you will show this later when you are showing the first step on the salary matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's good to mention, yeah, for the reminder.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this input. And yeah, I didn't mention it here as well, but on top of the benchmark finder, we also have developed one-pagers on the IDH website, which can help you indeed to understand how the methodologies work. And yeah, depending on your preferences or maybe a specific criteria, you can decide on which methodology to go for. And I will try to keep in mind to present the discount on wage indicator indeed during the demo. Thanks. Is there any other question? I can't see everybody, so please feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself. I don't see any comments. I also don't see the chat for your information. So Maarten, if you don't mind, just
I'm checking
monitoring. Yeah, just in case. Thank you. Okay, so once that we have understood what are different methodologies, the different benchmarks, and you have decided, okay, I'm going to go with this methodology, then the second step is to use the salary matrix tool to actually measure your living wage gap. And that is the second step of the roadmap as well. So the salary matrix is a free online tool for facilities to measure the living wage gaps. I think I made that clear already. As I said, we developed our methodology and calculations based on the anchor methodology. And we also received guidance and feedback and recommendations via the salary matrix working group, which is a group that was set up earlier this year. With some key stakeholders who have understanding on living wages and how to apply it for companies. So their expert knowledge is really much welcome every time we try to move forward with the salary matrix tool. And then, well, as you are here, like you already reached out to us to have this this training. So just as a quick to make this session a little bit interactive and to kind of know, yeah, if you have any idea on how living wage gaps are measured. So I already introduced to you how a living wage benchmark is calculated, but how do we get to the living wage gap? So maybe you can put in the chat if you think it's answer number 1, number 2, or number 3. Just be careful on like the different icons and the signs as well. So if you think that it's the answer number 1, that is, we take the benchmark minus the current remuneration, and that gives us a living wage gap, then that's answer number 1. If you think that you add the benchmark to the current remuneration to get the living wage gap, then it's answer number 2. And if you think that you first take the current remuneration, you subtract the benchmark to get the gap, then that's answer number 3. So I will leave you like a few seconds. And Maarten, if you can monitor the chat, I would really appreciate that.
I will. We have a first answer, which is number 3.
Mm-hmm.
But we will wait a little bit.
But there is a, well, of course there is a correct answer, but please feel free to just put whatever you think is the correct answer. It's just a little quiz to make it a bit interactive. So no pressure.
So it seems that everybody is going with option number 3 as for now. And then just waiting for the last comments coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but confirmed, everybody is going for option number 3.
Okay, so then the group thinks that we take current remuneration, then we subtract the benchmark, and we get the gap. So let's see what the correct answer is. So the correct answer was actually answer number 1. So we first take the benchmark, to which we subtract the current remuneration of the workers, and that's how we get the living wage gap. And why do we do it that way? It's because the living wage benchmark indicates how much a worker should earn, and then we compare it to their current remuneration, and we get the gap. So that was answer number 1, but it was a tricky question. So I apologize for that, but thank you for answering. So yeah, the correct answer is first benchmark minus remuneration, and that's how we get the gap. So before I start showing you the online tool, I want to walk you through. Yeah.
Sorry, the hand of Lotte. Lotte, go ahead. No, there is no. Okay, then my my Teams is acting strange. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No worries. Thanks. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of what is included in current remuneration. When I introduced to you the benchmark and the different aspect of how to calculate the benchmark, and now I'm going to walk you through what to or not to include in the current remuneration. So first of all, we take the wages. I think we had a question about this. It's gross wages, so it's before taxes. Because why do we take gross wages? It's because the methodologies actually publish gross values, so then it's easier to compare. So we take gross wages, so earned during a standard work week, and that excludes overtime, because we want to calculate how much a worker earns during the standard work week. So let's say in most countries it's 40 hours, sometimes it's 48. So based on those 48 hours, workers should receive enough money to have a decent lifestyle. Then we add the bonuses, and those are bonuses that are expected in advance. So that could be a set 13th month, for example. So that workers know that when they start working at this facility, they do expect and they can receive a 13 month. That can also include, for example, a gift card for Christmas. If it's to be used anywhere. So for example, if you say in the contract, okay, every year for Christmas, we're going to give you $50 for you to use at your discretion, whether you want to use it on food or clothes or toys for the kids, that's up to you. But the important point is that it's expected and that the workers can use the money freely. In-kind benefits. So so those are like, for example, things that can directly reduce the cost of living for workers. So that could be, for example, transportation or food at the canteen, or housing, for example, or healthcare, or childcare as well. And the value of the in-kind benefits is measured on the cost to the employer. So, for example, if you pay, let's say, $200 for the transportation for each worker, then that's the value that you're gonna have to enter in the salary matrix. I won't go too much into details, but for us to be able to compare with the methodologies, there is a capping, which means that in-kind benefits cannot exceed a certain amount. And that is because we want to make sure that workers get can reach the living wage mainly based on their wages and not only based on bonuses or in-kind benefits. So that's the reason why we cap in-kind benefits. For example, food has to be up to 10% of the wages or the total remuneration, sorry. Housing 15%, transportation 10%. I won't go too much into detail because the tool, the salary matrix tool, does it automatically for you. So even if you put an in-kind benefit and it's a bit higher, the tool will cap it automatically for you. So those are the three main big chunks that we include in the current remuneration on the salary matrix tool. And again, those has been really aligned with the anchor methodology and other methodologies as well. So then we can really compare apples with apples and peers with peers. So I have another little quiz for you. Based on what I told you about the wages, the bonuses, the in-kind benefits. So what is included in current remuneration? Should or can I include this into my salary matrix? Can I include T-shirts for the company football team? Can I include healthcare covering work-related injuries only? Can I include the end-of-year company party? And can I include fair trade premiums to workers? So I will leave you a couple of minutes to just answer yes or no to those questions. It's just for you to kind of understand a little bit what we can or cannot include in the salary matrix.
For your information, Margot, the first answers are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Until now, everybody is saying no to the first question. The first question. There are also people that are saying no to all four of them. Yeah, no. I haven't seen any yes as for no.
Okay.
But people are still typing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, 3 no's and then a question mark for the number 4.
Okay.
Then Dilip is raising your hand. Yeah, please go ahead.
Just can you elaborate on what do you mean by fair trade premium to workers? Is it like an allowance given to workers?
It's not an advance. It's the premium that Fairtrade can give to the facility because it's certified, and then this premium is to be shared among workers. So that's what we that's what we mean by Fairtrade premium.
Okay.
All right.
So it's
Yeah,
like
that's not something
certification
that
money.
we know. That's not something that we know in the packaging industry. I guess that's really
No, yeah.
specific to the agricultural sector.
In different
Yeah.
supply chains, yes, and exactly. But I think the question is just about, yeah, indeed, this is a fair trade, but it can also be that other certification schemes has other
Premiums.
generation
Yeah.
premium with another name, another wording.
Yeah, perhaps FSC or yeah. So if it's easier for you to understand, maybe the FSC, so maybe it's more relevant for the packaging industry. But yeah, any kind of premium to workers, so certification premiums. Should I move ahead with the answers?
Yeah, I can again confirm all answers are no or not sure about the fourth one.
Okay. So let's see. So indeed, even though it's really nice and encouraged to have a football team in the company, the T-shirts for the football team are not to be included in the salary matrix. Why? Because it doesn't reduce the cost of living for the workers. For the second one, it could have been a tricky one, but I think everybody answered correctly no, because healthcare is supposed to cover everything, so even also outside of work. And that's why here it's a no, because it cannot be only related to work injuries. Just like the football T-shirts, the end of your company, really love it. It's lovely, but that doesn't help people to pay their bills or reduce their cost of living. And for the last one, the premium, so the certification premium to workers, that can be included, but there is a but. It can be included only if it has been constant for the last 5 years, and that is expected from workers. So if you're really, if your facility receives premiums, but then it's really very, very flaky, or it really varies depending on years, then I wouldn't suggest to include it. But if it has been a premium that you've received for at least the last 5 years, and it has been more or less consistent, and workers kind of expected to receive it, then you can include it. So this was a little bit of introduction on what is a benchmark, what is included in current remuneration on the salary matrix. And to help you users to understand a bit more what you can or cannot include in the salary matrix, or if you have any other question, we have developed the salary matrix e-learning website. I will show you quickly after a bit more in detail, but basically in the tool you will see that we have put like some bubble information where we have put a bit of guidance on what kind of data to enter in which field. But we felt that we needed to be a bit more explicit, and that's why we developed the e-learning website, where really you can scroll through all the tabs step by step, and then you have really detailed guidance. You also have a checklist of what kind of information you need before you start. That is very helpful. As I said, you have detailed guidance on what data to enter in each tab and each data field. You also have a step-by-step guidance on uploading your wage data by using the Excel file, and I will show it to you while we do the demo. But if you have any kind of, you forgot like one step or one thing, then you always have the step-by-step guidance on the e-learning website. And you have frequently asked questions for each topic. We also have training materials. And if you're really interested on understanding how we calculate the living wage gap, then we have included all of our formulas as well on this website. So yeah, that's the end of the slides. But I will show you now I will first pause to see if anybody has some question, maybe. Now I can see all of you again, but I will start sharing my screen. So yeah, as I said, we have developed the e-learning website, so that shows like this. You have a welcome. You also have the history about the salary matrix, why we developed it, how we developed it. Just for you to understand a little bit, it all started with an Excel file, and then we decided to move it online, which is much nicer and faster for people to use. And then you have also an introduction video. You also have the glossary here to understand, okay, what do you mean exactly by job categories or living wage or bonuses. You have the checklist, so I told you about. So all the documents and general information, everything that you need to have ready before you start using the salary matrix. I mean, you can also do it step by step, but I would recommend to be really fully prepared before you start. And then here you will see the e-learning website is structured the same way as the salary matrix tool, so with different tabs. Tab 1 for the overview, for general information, and here you have FAQs as well. So if you have any questions about, okay, I'm not understanding this or this, then maybe you will find your answer in this FAQ pages. Here's the recap of all of the FAQs. And we have also like the calculation formulas, as I mentioned. So we really explain it in details. So this is a very helpful website to have at hand as well when you start using the salary matrix, in case you have any question at all. So back to the tool now. So when you first log in, you will create an account. We will ask you to verify your email, and once you've done that, then you will have created your account. And this is the home page that you will see every time that you log in on the salary matrix tool. So you have, it's called the dashboard. It's the home page. We also tell you about the salary matrix e-learning website. So here you have the link, and on the left you have the menu. So here you can see you have the dashboard. So this page, you have all of your matrices that you've ever created. Then you have the help, and that on clicking on the help button, you will be directly redirected to the e-learning website. And then for the FAQ, you will be directly directed to the FAQ pages. So here, if you have always a question, you can just by one click be directed to the e-learning website. So I will do step by step, and tab per tab. You will see a salary matrix is split in different tabs. And what I will do is that I will walk you through one tab, and I will leave some time for questions so that everybody can remember the question and we can visualize at the same time as I answer the questions. Does that sound good? I can only see Martin, so I guess it's fine.
I guess it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. All good. So let's start creating a new matrix. Let's say that you've scrolled a little bit through the e-learning website and you've attended this session, so you're ready to fill in your salary matrix. So the first thing is that we have a confidentiality and data compliance statement. We advise you to read that carefully before agreeing, but there's nothing really weird about it. It's just to make sure to let you know that your data is safe with us. Once you have read and agree, you click on agree, and here you have a choice. So either you create a matrix for an existing facility or you create for a new facility. And I'm assuming that for your case, you will create a matrix for a new facility because it will be the first time using it. You will see a few references to the term facility ID. And that's something that is quite important because it's basically your reference number of your salary matrix. So it's something that you really have to remember, and you can also, I will show you, but we generate a code for you, but you can also, if you decide, or if LC Packaging decides to have specific numbers for each facility, then you can override it and enter it. So
Okay.
let's create a matrix for a new facility. Yeah.
Oh, I just read, and I'm just repeating what Lotte is saying, that everybody normally already created an account that has been asked before the training. So normally everybody passed already this step.
Okay, great. So I will just walk you through it, and I will just use the example that we have on the website, actually. So if I use agricultural references, it's just because the example that we have is with a banana plant. So you're asked to fit in information about your facility. So your country, the GPS coordinate. Don't mind me, I'm just putting random numbers here. And I'm not sure why this one is not working. Okay, it works. The region as well. So in my case, I'm based in Limón, Costa Rica, and the salary matrix currency. We usually recommend to use the local currency, but if your facility pays all of the wages, etc., in US dollar, you can also choose US dollars. And then here you have the automated facility ID, as I told you about. So it's automatically generated, but if you want to modify it, you can. So you can override it, and that's quite important if you decide to, do it. So for example, here I just added demo, and the facility name, I will just put demo LC packaging. But the facility name, it's very important that you put a clear name on where your facility is based and the name of your facility, right? And then here we go into the salary matrix information. So which calendar year are you going to use? I know that it was in the email, I think, Martin, it was mentioned that you worked from April to March. That is possible. You can easily do it. What we recommend doing then is using the calendar year of the first year, because 9 months out of the 12 are in the first year, and then use a benchmark for the first year as well. And you will see in the salary matrix, you will be able to select the benchmark per year. So I will walk you through it as well. So here you also have the salary matrix contact person with an email, a phone number, and you can add a description of your facility. And then, well, here I'm clicking this box because it's for test, but in your case, you won't have to click that box. And then, so I've already filled in a few information, and that's the land page, the home page of one matrix. So that is the overview, and that is like the information that I've already filled in here, and the contact person here as well. And as you will see, like you can see like the progress on your matrix here as well. So here I still have to fill in everything, of course, because I have just started. So the second tab, I think here I don't need to pause. It's really just the overview. I think that's pretty clear and simple. But the second tab is general information about your facility and about your matrix. So just to make sure that everybody understands the difference between facility and matrix. Facility is really your factory or your plantation in the case of agriculture. And then the matrix is really the one, your wage data for this specific year. So for example, if you fill in the matrix this year and then again next year, then that would mean that you will have two matrices for the same one facility, for your same factory. So here the facility information, as I said, it's about your factory, and you can enter the size of production. So in my case, I will put 45 hectares because, in the agricultural world, we work in hectares, but here you have square meters and square feet as well. That will be more relevant for you, I think. And then for the sector, here you have agriculture, but you can also select heavy manufacturing or manufacturing non-food. And again, this is like information that I already filled in the little pop-ups before, so you can just double check that everything is correct. And you can save general information or click on save and next. Does anyone has any question on this first tab? Otherwise, feel free to interrupt me as well while I'm talking. That's perfectly fine. So I think the third tab, this one is a bit maybe slightly more complex, let's say, because it's about the benchmark. So We talked about how benchmarks are calculated and how do I choose my benchmark. Lotte mentioned that you did already a study. That's really great. That's going to help you a lot. And here you can click on choosing the benchmark, and they remind you that your facility location is here, Limon, Costa Rica. So then all the available benchmarks for my region will pop up here, as you can see. And we always put also the year before in case there is no benchmark available for your year. So in my case, like I can choose from the anchor methodology or wage indicator. Just quickly to show you the discount on wage indicator, I'm going to select wage indicator. So they say that, yeah, this living wage benchmark is not publicly available, which means that you can purchase it. You click on accept, and then you can click on, you can see that the benchmark value is not appearing automatically because you have to purchase the benchmark. And if you click on purchase benchmark, then you will be redirected on the wage indicator website where you can buy the package for a discounted price. That is half price of what they usually pay for a wage indicator benchmark. So that's how it works with wage indicator. For the sake of this example, I will choose actually the anchor benchmark, which is pretty available. So I can select the full-fledged anchor methodology, and as you can see, this one already appears because it's publicly available and we have retrieved the value for you. What you can also do is add different benchmark references. For example, if in your country you have a minimum wage, for instance, and you want to include it here, you can. It will only be a visual line on the report. Your wage data will not be compared to this benchmark. It will only be compared to the first main benchmark. So that's important to remember. That the wage data is compared only to this one main benchmark, and the additional references, it's only a visual line on the report. So once I have selected my benchmark, that I made sure that it's the same year as my wage data, then I can continue. And if you select a different year, you will have a pop-up message saying, please be careful, you have selected a benchmark that is not the same year as your wage data. So the tool is clever enough to notice that, but please double check that you select the same year as well. So I have my benchmark, I can click on save and next. Is there any question? Is everything clear so far about the benchmark? Sanne, I think you have your hand up.
Yeah. What can companies do if, for example, the office is located on another region than the production site? Can that still be in the same matrix as the same company, or?
Would the office be in a completely different region?
For example, yeah.
In that case, I would suggest to have either you do two separate matrices, or you can also double check if the benchmark value are the same, for example. That
okay, if it's the same value, yeah.
If it's the same value, then it's fine to put them together. If it's not, then I would suggest to create a separate matrix. The reason is that, for example, the workers, the employees that are working in the office, they might have a higher cost of living because they're probably based in a big city. So the cost of living is higher in a big city than in a very rural location. Let's say if your factory is located in a very rural area and your office is located in a big city, then that would be the difference. So it's quite important to really compare your workers to the region where they're based, because yeah, in big cities, cost of living are higher, groceries are higher, rent is higher usually. So that's how, yeah, that's the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Is there any other question?
I see another question coming in the chat. of Amurarca, which is the minimum wage modified every 6 months. Are 2 entries possible during the year?
Yeah, you have like here you can put 2 additional references. So if you want to say like minimum wage Q1, Q2, and then you do the same for Q3, Q4 here, that is perfectly visible. But again, it will only be a visual representation, a visual line on the graphic. It won't be compared to your wage data.
Yeah, again, to repeat indeed, so this is the salary matrix to calculate living wage gaps, calculated, compared with a living wage benchmark. Minimum wage of a country, of a certain country, can be much lower, for example, than the living wage. So we only give the possibility to have it visible in the graphs that you will have at the last step of the salary matrix, but the entire calculation of your payroll data compared to the benchmark won't be compared with the minimum wage. This is just an extra visual we are adding. So yeah, thanks, Margot.
Yeah, exactly. And to give you an example, I visited a banana farm in Ecuador last month, and they had the same question because in Ecuador they have a minimum wage for agricultural workers. And I told them, yeah, you can put the minimum wage of Ecuador here, but it will only be a visual representation because the minimum wage that the Ecuadorian government set up is much lower than the actual the living wage. Because the living wage is always higher of the minimum wage because it includes a bit more criteria, and it's also to ensure that workers get a decent lifestyle. Yeah, I hope this is clear. Lotte?
Well, you say the minimum wage is always lower than a living wage. Is that in each country like that?
Not in,
or is that
well, in the global south, yes. For example, in France, the living wage is actually lower than the minimum wage because in France, I'm from France, by the way. In France, we have quite a high minimum wage, but so it's not in all countries, but it's a general rule, let's say. Yeah. So in some European countries, it might be the case that the minimum wage is slightly higher, yeah, than the living wage, but it's quite rare, to be honest. Yeah.
And then the French always go on strike.
Always. It's never enough.
Right.
There should be maybe living wage, like living wage supporters, right? I mean, they don't know about it, but they're actually great supporters of the cause.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. So yeah, this was then the benchmark tab, and you can see here as I fill in the information on each tab, you can see that I get a little green check. And as long as my matrix is still in draft, like I am now, you can always go back. I need to save, that's very important. Thank you, the tool, for reminding me to do that. I need to save my entry, my data entry. And then I can always go back to the previous tabs and modify anything that I want to, for example, if I realize that I made a mistake or forgot something. So then we have the workforce context. And that's just to get a general information about your workforce, your workers, the leaves in your facility or your factory, let's say. This does not have any impact on the calculation, and that's quite important to know. It's just for the auditors actually to have a bit more understanding on how, the facility is organized, and also to double check data as well. So it's really mainly for this, and we're thinking about revising the whole workforce context tab to include more relevant questions or remove some that might not be as relevant. I know there was a question about pay leaves and holidays, and it was about the fact that the paid leaves and holidays in a certain factory depend on the attendance of workers, and that it varies per year. But here, as you can see, we're asking how many workers were paid for non-working holidays. So it's about the number of workers, not about the number of paid leaves and holidays. But here you have the number of mandatory leave. So I will walk you through this. So the first question is about worker organizations. Is there any registered trade unions in the facility? So in my case, I will put that there is one. Is there any type of worker organization, for example, a workers' council that is usually, for example, in the Netherlands, it's compulsory to have one as soon as your facility is above 50 people. So for example, at IDH, we do have a workers' council because we're higher than 50 people. Here, for the sake of the example, I will put no. They also ask about the piece rate workers. How many are paid partially or totally by piece rate, so production based, and indirect contracting of workers via third party, for example, via a labor broker or a temporary work agency. Here in my case, there is none. And is there any regular work performed that is outsourced to a third party? So that could be the canteen or the security. And in my case, there is also none, but I know that in many facilities, many factories, that can happen as well. So here you click Save and Next. Is there any question on, oh, sorry, yeah. See, the tool doesn't want me to save because I actually forgot to fill in this part. So the paid leaves and holidays, it's about how many workers. So in my case, I will put that I have 25 workers that were paid for non-working holidays or other paid leave time, which means the entire workforce. And here you also have how many unpaid mandatory calendar does your facility have? And by unpaid mandatory leave, sorry, we mean, for instance, if the factory has to close for 2 days because of cleaning, for instance, or for check on all the machines and all of the processes. Sometimes it happens that the factory has to be closed for 1 or 2 days. Then here you can put it. So once you have filled in all of this field, then you can actually click Save and Next. Is there any question about the workforce context tab? No, all clear? Okay, so then we move to the product information. So what do you produce? What does your facility produce? Here you can put several products separated by a comma. So in my case, I will put bananas because that's what the example is about. But you can also add several products, and also, yeah, it's a how do you say? You can enter any kind of product, so it's a free entry kind of field. Your total annual production and the units of production. So in my case, it's in tons, and let's say I produce 450 tons a year. Again, this is just dummy data for the sake of the demo. Then the second part of this tab is about certifications and audit standards. So here comes like the question that we had earlier about the premiums. If you have any certification or audit standards, then you can add them here. Again, this is mainly also for auditing reason, but also if the certification wants to know as well if you have fill in the salary matrix, then later on you can agree or not to share this information with them. Then we come to the production season/period information. Again, this is mainly for the auditors to understand how you entered your data and how it was calculated. If you have for example, in the agricultural sector, in the banana sector, you usually have 2 seasons. And the reason is why is because you usually have a season where you produce a lot and a low season where the production is quite lower. So then people might work less. But if you have only one period, or if you say that your wage calendar goes from April to March the next year, then you can indicate it in months here. You can make it start in April, and the length is then 12 months. Does that make sense? I don't see any hands up, so I will save and click on next. So I will pause for a second, just in case, anybody wants to jump in and have a question. Lotte?
There is a question of Lotte.
Yeah.
But you are muted, Lotte. I can also repeat what you have in the chat. Shall I do this? So Lotte is asking, what would you fill out for packaging in pieces, kilograms, etc.?
Yeah, so here you have, you can choose the units of production. So it can be kilograms, it can be cuttings, it can be pieces, it can be standard box. It's actually for the agricultural sector as well. So you can choose, for example, that you produced, I don't know, 1 million pieces, for example, if that makes more sense, or kilograms, if that makes more sense for your factories. Would that be relevant for LC packaging?
I see people nodding. Yes, that's it.
Okay, so yes, I think indeed kilograms or pieces might be more relevant for you. But yeah, in the case of bananas, it's either per tons or per standard box as well. So here we arrive to the final and most exciting tab of the salary matrix, and it's the payroll data, because as you can see, we haven't entered anything related to wage data yet, but we're going to do that now. So as I said, you have a checklist before you start, and it's important that you have everything ready and on hand before you start doing that. There are two ways of doing it. You can either add job category manually, so one by one. So I can show you quickly. So let's say I will put the name of my new work category. And here I put office workers, and they put in the work area. They work in the office, so that's their work area. And that's the manual entry for this job category. So you have work type and duration, the job of the category, the work area, the number of men and women, if they are covered by a collective bargaining agreement, and their wages per period. So I will go into details with the Excel file, but that's exactly the same information that you will have to put as well in the Excel if you decide to go with the Excel. So as I told you, what do we capture in the salary matrix as current remuneration is the wages per period. So let's say for that period, for 12 months, so from April to March, the total of hours worked during this period, the total of wage earned for this period, minus bonuses, because the bonuses will be in a section below. The total of hours worked above the regular hours, so the overtime, the extra time, and the total wage earned for that extra time. And all of this is for the whole period. And again, it's in gross value, so before taxes. Then you have the bonuses section. So do workers in this job category receive a 13th, 14th, or 15th month? Do they receive any extra bonus? For example, as I said, a gift card for Christmas, $50. Yeah, lovely. Put it here. Or if they have a performance bonus that is fixed every year, or that is really expected every year from workers, then you can also enter it here. What is important to remember is that for bonuses and in-kind benefits, you have to enter the values for full-time equivalent. What I mean by this is that if you have a worker that works part-time the whole year. So let's say the worker works 20 hours a week the whole year instead of the regular 40 hours, let's say. Then you have to put the wage data for the 20 hours. You don't have to make the calculation. It's just what the person received. But for the bonuses and the in-kind benefits, you have to put the value as if the worker was working full-time the entire year. So you would just, let's say if the person received a 13 month, then you would just, it would be based on the part-time, right? So the 20 hours for a month, but then you would put as if the worker would have worked the entire year full-time. So then what a full-time worker would get as a 13 month, for example. And the same goes for the in-kind benefits as well. It's as if the worker was working full-time. And here in in-kind benefits, you have to indicate if the workers in this job category receive food, transportation, child education system, support, housing. What is important is in housing is that it has to be able to host the whole family. What I mean by this is that in some cases you have factories where workers get a house and get housing to stay on site for, let's say, the whole week. But then when the worker goes back to his family, they still have to rent a house for the family, right? So the housing on site for the single worker cannot be included because he still has to pay the rent to host his family outside of the factory. So the housing must include housing for the whole family. And I didn't mention that before actually, but here you can see you have little info bubble with indication of what should be included or not, and definitions as well. So as I told you, we put a little bit of guidance on the tool directly, but to not make it too overwhelming, then we have created the e-learning website where we have a bit more detailed guidance. And then, childcare support and healthcare support. So again, just as the example in the little quiz earlier, healthcare has to be for everything to cover work injuries, but also non-work injuries. So as I was saying, this is the first way of entering a job category. So entering the wage data for one worker or several workers if they earn more or less the same and have more or less the same bonuses and in-kind benefits, then you can gather them. Or you can upload your payroll system using the Excel file, and I think that will be what most of you will use. So when you select upload payroll, you will be given an Excel template. So I will then download the example. So you have also an example on how to fill it in. And I will open it so you can see.
Maybe immediately a question from my side, Margot, and it's on the screen as well. But I imagine you cannot combine and filling out manually in the salary matrix and uploading an Excel file, right? If you start now with the Excel file, then it overrides all the data you already have filled out in the salary matrix manually.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right, and that is included here. It's written here. So if you start filling in manually, and then you decide, oh, okay, you know what, I'm going to switch to Excel, and you upload your Excel, it will just override everything. So I would suggest either you go manual and you stick with manual, or you start with Excel, and then you can't go back to manual input. So that's something that is also quite important to mention. So thanks for bringing this up.
And then Margot,
yeah.
Then there is just a question of Lotte as well. Good question. When would you go then for the Excel file, and when would you go for the manual entry? Is there any preference from our side? What is more time intensive, etc., etc.? Maybe you could give a little bit word on this.
Yeah. Well, I think like a lot of people prefer to go with the Excel because it's easier for them to fit in an Excel file, and I will show you how the Excel file looks like in a minute. Manual would be maybe if you have only a few job categories, then maybe it's actually easier because the information that you have to enter either on the tool or on the Excel, it's exactly the same. So it's structured the same way as well. You will see. So the data that is required to be entered is exactly the same amount. What I'm thinking about is that Excel for a lot of people might be easier because they can also do a copy paste from their own payroll system, for example, if they have it already in Excel. So usually when you have a certain amount of workers or a certain amount of job categories, then it's easier to use the Excel file. Yeah. And so I will show you the Excel file.
And there is a new question of Lotte. Please go ahead, Lotte.
I'm sorry, I'm keep on asking questions.
Go ahead. That's what we're here.
If we talk about the in-kind benefits, you have to fill out a value related to that in-kind benefit. So I know, for example, that one of our suppliers is arranging transportation for the workers. What amount do you fill out? The amount that our partner is paying for the transportation itself, or the amount of what it normally would cost for the worker to have to arrange that transportation? For example, a ticket to the bus or something, or...
Yeah, that's a really good question. And here you have to fit in what it costs for the employer, not what it would cost for an employee to use the bus, for example. So it's really what the factory is paying to that service provider per worker. So let's say you pay 1,000 euros for the bus the whole year. Then you would take this 1,000 euros and you would divide it per worker, and that would give you the amount to enter.
Right. And that's the same with housing. That's the same with just this is my cost for this in-kind benefit that I provide, and I have to divide it through the workers that make use of it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the amount.
Exactly. So that's the cost to the employer divided by the number of workers that receive it. Yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks. I will proceed and share with you the Excel payroll. Oh, sorry, my teams keep popping up in front of my Excel. Okay, so here we have the Excel file, and as I told you, like it's the exact same data entries that you are required to fill in as
I'm sorry, I don't see the Excel file.
Oh,
I don't know
you don't
if
see
the
it?
others see it. No.
No, we cannot see it. Yeah, now we do.
Yeah. Okay. So as I was saying, it's the same data fields that you will have to enter here, and I will go slowly again one by one. So I didn't discuss the work type and duration before, but here you have a drop down on the tool. It's the same. It's also a drop down, and the work type and duration is did the worker or workers work the entire year full-time, part-time, or a portion of the year full-time, a portion of the year part-time, and casual and special contract workers. So for example, like the last category would be if you hired someone just as an extra for 1 month and that person only worked for 1 month, then that would be a casual worker, for example. Here in the example, the first category is entire full-time. And the work area is where do the workers or worker work. So is it like senior management? Is it in transport? Is it in office, drying area, processing? Here you have, is it a supervisor, for example, or quality assurance worker? And do they work in the canteen? Or they can also have multiple work areas. So for example, if you have workers that work 1 week at a processing machine, 1 week in packaging, 1 week in transport, then you can select multiple work areas. So that's where your workers, that's where those workers will fall under. I mentioned a few times worker or workers, and the reason is you have also here two choices. One is to enter your workers individually. Sometimes it's easier because your payroll is per individual workers. So you can do that, and then the number of workers would be 1 in this column H. Or you can decide, well, actually, my workers earn the same salary for the same job, and the same bonuses, and the same in-kind benefits, and they also have the same work type and duration. They are yes or no covered by a collective bargaining agreement, and they have the same gender. So that's important because here men and women have to be split. It's because we do a gender segregated data analysis on the tool. So here in the Excel file, men and women have to be separated. But if you decide that it's easier for you to enter all of your, let's say, all of your packaging workers into one single line and put like 45 workers under that job category, that is completely possible, as long as I said, they have the same work type and duration, the same work area, the same job category, the same gender, and if they're covered by CBA, and if they earn more or less 10% the less, and if they have the same bonuses, the same in-kind benefits. So it really depends on what you prefer. I've heard that, yeah, there are both cases. So some facilities prefer to work with individual workers, some others prefer to group them. That's really up to you. So here, so once you have put in the work type and duration, the work area, you can name your job category. So here you have HR administrative worker, and the worker ID here. It's really important that the worker ID cannot be traced. So it has to be absolutely anonymous. No personal information can be entered here. It's really important because we as IDH, we don't want to know who the workers are. It has to be completely anonymized. So you can build your own system to have like, okay, worker A is actually this specific person, worker 2 is that specific person. That's completely fine by us. You can also put a system with codes or longer numbers, completely fine by us, as long as we as IDH, we cannot identify the person individually. And here you, in the column F, you have covered by CBA, so collective bargaining agreement. It's a drop-down list, so you can enter yes, no, or unknown. Here for the gender, you can select men or women. It's very important that you stick to selecting the drop-down list and do not enter just a simple yes or no, or no, because the tool will detect that there is a problem otherwise. So once you have selected all of these columns, you enter the number of workers. So here in my file, you can see that we actually went with mainly individual workers, but then at the bottom here, we have a few workers that we have grouped. So then you can see both cases. And then just as the same structure as in the tool, you're asked to fill in the wage period duration, so in number of weeks. So if it's the full year from April to March, then it's quite easy. It's 52 weeks. And then the total of hours worked during this wage period, the total of wage earned for this period, so minus bonuses, as I mentioned, because the bonuses will come in later. Then here you have in column M the total of hours worked above the legal regular working hours, so it's the overtime to be put more simply. Column M is the total of hours that the worker worked overtime. Column N is the total wage earned for this overtime. And if you have only one wage period, then you can just simply skip the wage period 2 and wage period 3. However, if you want to split your wage periods, then you will have to fit in as well the 2 or 3 sections. So here in that example, you can see that we have workers who worked only for one period, because here in the wage period 2, it's empty, and wage period 3, it's also empty. But then you have other workers, as in row 7, 8, and 9, for example. They also worked in wage period 2 and wage period 3. So it really depends on how you structure your payroll, and if you have, for example, periods with high production or low production, that could be happening. I'm not sure if it's relevant in the packaging industry, but for example, in the agricultural or textile sectors, it's actually quite regular to have a low and high production season. And then once you have filled in your wage data, so total of hours worked, total wage earned for those hours, total of hours worked overtime, and total of wage received for those overtime, then you are asked to answer to fill in the bonuses. And as I mentioned before, here you in the wage section, you enter just what the worker received. So again, if it worked full-time, you just put full-time. If it worked part-time, you just worked whatever you received for that part-time. But here for the bonuses and the in-kind benefits, it's important that the value is entered for a full-time equivalent. So FTE, it stands for full-time equivalent or full calendar year. So what I mean by this, again, is that if the worker worked part-time, so half-time the whole year, then you have to double what they actually got to make it as if the worker was working full-time the entire year. So here again, we have the 13th, 14th, 15th month and other bonuses. So as I said, could be a performance bonus that workers really expect to have, or a Christmas card that is automatically given every single year without a bid. They know that workers will receive the 100 euros gift card for Christmas. So you have 3 other columns to put any kind of bonuses that falls under the criteria. And then here, just again, as the tool, we have the in-kind benefits. So the workers receive food, transportation, child education, housing, childcare, and healthcare. And again, as Lotte asked, it is the cost to the employer. So again, if you pay 1,000 euros for the canteen for the whole year, you will divide this 1,000 euros by the number of workers that receive food, and that will give you the number to enter in this column here. And the same goes for transportation. So for the bus, the same goes here. So it's the cost to the employer, not if what if the employee was actually taking the bus every day, how much would that cost them? No, it's the cost to the employer. And then here, the last column, AN, is an optional information. It's years of tenure. So how long this worker has been working in this specific position, in this specific role. So it's an optional information. You do not need to add it. We're not going to do anything about it. It's not going to impact the calculation. It's just for you to know as well, to have an overview. So as you can see here, it's the example. So it's already like pre-filled in for me. So I'm quite lucky. And then we can, once you have filled in every single column, you double check that all the information is correct. Then you can proceed. One thing that I want to be clear of is that I want to specify is that, yeah, again, you shouldn't overwrite or delete the drop-down columns. Otherwise, the Excel, the tool will actually tell you, hey, there is an error in column C, cell 3, and you will know exactly why, because yeah, the drop down was deleted, for example. So the tool is actually clever enough to notice when there is an error and to guide you to the specific cell where there is an error. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second, and then I will start showing you again the salary matrix tool. Is there, maybe I can pause here, is there any question about the Excel file? Yeah.
Like, do you have to cover all the employees, all levels of employees in the organization? For example, managers, senior managers, or is it like the supervisors and the associate level workers?
So that's really up to your discretion. Usually, people put up to supervisors,
Okay.
and perhaps yeah, but usually senior manager and CEO level, that is not included, because
Okay.
the reason why, it's because usually this kind of workers do not have a living wage gap. That's the main reason, right? I mean,
No,
I do hope for you that your CEO doesn't have a living wage gap, right?
No, I asked it because in the Excel sheet you have senior managers and all that filled already.
Yeah, so you can put, if you want to, you have you can put senior management, and here it's just it's manager, so it's not it's, let's say, for example, if you have in a factory, I'm assuming you have like the workers, then you have the supervisor for a specific area, and then you have like managers above the supervisors, right? Those you can include, but if it goes higher up, I would assume there is, if you know for sure in your payroll system that you don't have any gap, I wouldn't include them.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think, however, to add something on that, Dilip, it would be interesting to afterwards, if you share the gap report, to show if there's a gap, yes or no, to also mention the number of employees that were not included, the top management, because then we can say, okay, of the 2,000 employees, 90% receives a living wage, for example, right? So otherwise we exclude those. And I think if we are looking in reporting and also for yourself, of course, towards showing how far you are already, I think it's also good to not exclude them completely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Lotte. And yeah, I would also, our recommendation as IDH would go, please follow the recommendations and requests from LC Packaging in your case, right? So yeah. Is there any other question?
Yeah, Margot, there is a question from Lisa. And Lisa, you can ask it yourself as well. Please go.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure on the Excel file because the company and the employee both contribute towards Provident, basically like a pension fund. Where exactly on the Excel file will I show this? Both contributions, obviously.
So we do not include pension benefits. The reason is, well, why is that? It's because the benchmark methodologies, they do not include that because it does not help workers to reduce their cost of living month per month. It's a safety fund, right? That they get when they will retire. It's the same for unemployment money. So it does not, if it's something that people cannot touch every month, that they don't get the cash and they can use it however they like, then you cannot include it because it's not part of the methodology. And the simple reasoning behind it is because it doesn't help them to reduce their cost of living. It doesn't help them to pay their rent or buy their food every month.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for that question. It's really really important. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so far we have really interesting questions, so I'm really happy about it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and proceed. So let's say you have used the Excel 5 and that yeah, you double checked, everything seems okay. then you can click here on Upload Payroll Excel, and then you can click to upload your file. So in my case, I will go to my download, and I will upload the example. And then here again, you have a little pop-up saying, hey, watch out, you already have an existing job category. You're gonna be overriding them. And also one thing that is important to know is that if you start filling in the salary matrix manually, like I showed you at the very beginning, one by one, you can always switch to Excel. If halfway through you're like, well, actually, you know what, I'm going to do that in Excel, that's perfectly possible. However, once you start uploading an Excel file, there's no way back to manual entry. So that's something to keep in mind. In most cases, it's not a problem. If you want to make a change, you just have to change the data in your Excel file and re-upload it. So I will continue here, upload payroll, and they say successfully applied. And you can see the description, the number of job categories, number of employees. But if you have, for example, if you entered something wrong in one of the cells, like especially you removed the drop-down list, for example, and you wrote something else instead, then it will say, oh, there's an error, and they will guide you. The tool is clever enough to guide you, as I said, to the specific cell. So they will tell you in column C, row 7, you have a wrong entry. So then you can go back to your file, modify it, and re-upload it. So here, well, luckily the example is well made because there is no error, and you can see it has uploaded all of my job categories. And you will see here, what is also interesting is that they have grouped the workers as well automatically. So you can see that the HR admin people in the Excel file, it was separated, right? 1 and 1, because it was 1 man, 1 woman. And here they're together, number of workers, 2. So the tool just group your workers based on the work type and duration, the work area, the CBA, and if they have more or less the same salary. So the tool is clever enough to group them automatically, but you will always have your Excel file to check them individually. And you can also, in the report that we'll see just now, you will be able to see them also individually. So as I said, now that you have re-uploaded, you can download the file that you have just uploaded, just in case if you have lost it or you're not sure which version you used, you can always download the latest file that you have uploaded. And if you realize that you made a mistake or you need to change something, you can always click here on re-upload payroll. And again, you will have the latest template, the example, or you can just upload it directly. And here it says complete. If it's not complete, you will see status incomplete in orange here. So the tool is also visually nice enough to really spot where you're missing any information. And as you can see here, all my tabs are now filled in. They have all the green the green checks icon, and you can see the draft report. And the draft report is the same as the final report. It's just for you to double check if everything is okay before you submit your matrix. Oh yeah, and here, for example, like that's a great case because I put that you can see that okay, my workers earn really little money. And the reason for that is because I selected the currency, the local currency, so Costa Rican currency, but actually my payroll is in US dollars. So what I can do is that I can go back. I can go to general information, and here I can select the currency to USD, and they will say, hey, watch out, it will change. No problem, confirm change. I will say next, and then I can view, oh yeah, because I changed the value, then I can have to change the benchmark as well. So I reselect the benchmark again, and then it says, okay, it's in USD dollars now. So I can click save and next. And here I can view the report. Don't worry if it takes a couple of minutes to load. That's normal, because if you have a lot of data, that might take a little bit of time just for the tool to process. So don't worry if it takes a minute or two. But here you can see visually all of your data entry. So that's the average living wage gap per job category. So you can see here office support men, women, multiple men, multiple women, cook, the HR admin man, woman, manager, supervisor, manager women, cleaner, and quality assurance. So you have all the job categories here, and it's quite visual and nice. You can see you have 3 different colors, so 3 different fading. So the hard one, the opaque, is the monthly wage. Then the less opaque is the monthly in-kind benefits. And then the very light one is the bonuses. So you can also see, okay, for example, like this worker is almost reaching the living wage minimum, but that's also because it includes in-kind benefits and the bonus. And here, if you scroll down, you have all the summary of all the data you have entered so far. So the currency, region, the benchmark you selected, the value of the benchmark, the number of workers below living wage. So in my case, I have like 84% of workers below living wage. So I really need to do something about this. And then you have the range of the gap size, the actual the average percentage of in-kind benefits, of bonus, total number of workers. And here you have all of your data as well, split per gender. So depending on the gender, you can see that, for example, like women on average are less likely to have a living wage gap than men in my case. And the average gap size is less important for women than for men. And here again, you have the graph. It's just a different illustration, but it shows the same thing. It's a little bit more detailed, let's say, like a little bit more zoomed in. So again, you have different colors for the wage, the bonuses, and in-kind benefits. And you have the summary of facility and product. And here, if you scroll down, you have in a table all the data that you've entered. So the job category, the number of workers, monthly base, bonuses, in-kind benefits, total remuneration. So that's the 3 columns here added together. That gives you the total remuneration. Because, as I said, total remuneration includes base wage, bonuses, and in-kind benefits. Then you have the living wage gap in percentage, the work type and duration, and if they're covered by a collective bargaining agreement or not. And again, here you have that's the workforce tab that has been summarized here. So that is your draft report. So you can really double check, okay, does everything look okay? Or perhaps you're like, it's weird. This manager women, they shouldn't have a living wage gap. So let me check if I really entered my data correctly. You can always go back and then go to the payroll tab, re-upload your payroll, the Excel file, submit it again, and then you can check the draft report again. Once you're sure that all the data you've entered are correct, you can submit the matrix. One thing that we also want to be explicit about is that as long as your matrix is in draft status, because I haven't clicked on submit matrix, IDH does not have access to any of your data. So the only thing that we can do is actually to help you to go back to the draft. If you submit, let's say you click submit a little bit too quickly and you said, oh, shoot, I forgot, there is an error in my Excel file. You can contact us and we can reopen your matrix, as we say, which means that you will go back to draft status, and then you can modify every single information again. But once you have submitted your matrix, you won't be able to modify anything anymore. I can show you quickly an example of a matrix that is submitted. So here you can see it's submitted in blue. It was just a test, and I still have access to all of the information, but I just cannot make any changes anymore. It's just not possible because I have submitted my matrix, and I thought, okay, it looks good. So submitted means that it's sent and ready for audit. So I can still see everything, but I just cannot modify anything anymore. So yeah, that was the end of this presentation. Just quickly to show you, here you have all the list of matrices that you have created. So here is mine, and here you will see a little Excel icon, and that's because I used the Excel file. And for example, here this one I didn't use the Excel file, so there's no Excel icon. Is everything clear? Is there any question? I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so I can see you all again.
Maybe, Margot, I can add a little bit, because you have mentioned now twice auditing and verification of data, and maybe let's just clarify a little bit on this. So LC Packaging and IDH, we are working together right now in a first step of the entire process, let's say, and this is really the focus on a self-assessment. So you and your company filling out the salary matrix with your payroll data, and to see how to extract a first draft report. And that's why we are also calling it a draft report, because it's based on self-assessment on data you just put in the in our tool. Of course, we are not checking if these data are correct or not. And that's normally the process then of a external auditor. So an external auditor, which is not part of IDH, but which is from a different company, who will then in a second stage of the whole process check the data, if the data is filled out correct. And then even there is also the possibility for an on-site audit verification of the data, and really then to see if it's matched with our reality. But we are not entering into detail already in this training, because this is really a second step, and we also confirmed with LC Packaging that we will be focusing now on the first step, self-assessment, and to extract this first draft report.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Martin. And something that I didn't mention, but when you have an error, for example, or if there is a little bug in the tool, which can happen, right? You will have a pop-up message on the top right corner, and you have an email address, sorry, that is livingwage@idhtrade.org. Where you can contact us for any support or any question that you have. So you can ask us about methodologies with the benchmarks, or you can ask us questions about technicalities of the tool, or if you have any issue with your Excel file, then there's always the little pop-up. You also have the email address on the e-learning website in the tab Contact Us. So we are always available to answer any questions or difficulties you may have. Yeah, that's something that we want to share with you as well.
Yeah, and I will also just build a little bit further on this. We have given a special training as well to Sanne, who is here with us, and she has now she's also really well informed about all the processes and methodology of the salary matrix tool. We do respond to the help desk email, but we do see a lot of questions coming in from a lot of companies. So there could be a certain delay in the response to that. So what we have coordinated, and maybe Lotte, you can also then explain a little bit. What we recommend is that you first internally check with Sanne as well about questions, etc., and that you could filter in a certain way the questions to IDH, which then would make the process much easier for us as well, and make sure that we could respond in as soon as possible, let's say. But Lotte, you want to
Elaborate on that.
elaborate on this.
Yes. Also looking at the time, let's keep it a bit short. After this session, I will send you an email again with a link to the recording of the session. Also, if some of your colleagues couldn't join or you want to rewatch it. Also with the benchmark research that we have conducted for you to make a good choice on which benchmark to choose. And the contact details of Sanne Penning, who is the data and reporting analyst at LC Packaging. And yes, I think it would be a good idea if you have any questions apart from errors in the system, but questions related to how to fill out a certain type of in-kind benefit or a bonus or any thoughts that you have, you can redirect these questions to Sanne. I believe she's a key user now after a full day of training. And if it would be still too difficult for Sanne, she will make sure that she will have contact with IDH to answer your question. So let's do it that way. Yeah.
Nice. Nice to hear we have a super user in the group.
Hi.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure at all. No, it will be fine. It will be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Good, and I also wanted to add, like, we are aware that this is a lot of information here in this session. This is only a first walk through the tool, but what we see and what is really needed is that you take your time to go through the eGuidance learning website. It takes in the first step, it takes a little bit more time to read everything carefully, but be sure you will win time later, because then you will have a better understanding of everything, and it will also reduce the number of questions you have, and it will also immediately improve the quality of the data you are putting in the system. So we do see a huge impact on this. So this is again a call out, a shoot out to really use the eGuidance platform before starting with the salary matrix.
Yeah, thanks. And if it's helpful, Lotte, I can also share the slides that I used today with you, because there is also the link to the e-learning website directly as well there. So
yeah,
just in case, I will do that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at the time, is there any question? Was everything clear? Are you just done with hearing me talking for 2 hours now? I am too. But
good luck,
no,
everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for attending the session today. It was really nice. Thank you for your questions. They were all very relevant and important. So thanks a lot. And yeah, again, good luck with fitting the tool. And if you have any question, then reach out to Sanne, or if you have any technical issue, then feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Good luck.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.